Allow me to introduce myself.
Gallagher got power crept by this. Make no mistake, he's still great, but you may want to retake a look at Lingsha because she is broken. In this video, I'll be covering what you need to know about Lingsha, such as her kit, relics, Eidolons, Lightcones, and much more. My name is Myschyff, and this is going to be my ultimate guide to Honkai Star Rail's newest abundance unit. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Lingsha is a 5-star fire unit following the path of abundance. She specializes in sustaining the team, increasing break damage, and has a follow-up attack in her kit. This makes her a well-rounded support unit able to fit into any team comp, such as hyper carry, super break, follow-up attack, and most importantly, DOT. Lingsha also has really high personal toughness damage, which can help break your enemies faster. So in super break translation, faster break, faster clears. Her basic attack is nothing too crazy. She deals fire damage to a single target enemy and gains 20 energy. However, thanks to her A2 trace, she actually gains an additional 10 energy, meaning you gain 30 energy from her basic attack. To put it into perspective, like all other characters, Lingsha will start the battle with half of her max energy. But what's interesting, however, is that she only requires 2 basics or 2 skills to get her ultimate, since she gets 30 energy from her basic. Her skill, on the other hand, deals AoE fire damage and restores all allies' HP by 14% of her attack, plus an additional 420 for all allies currently on the field. On top of that, she also advances Fu Yan's action by 20%. Fu Yan is tied to Lingsha's talent, similar to how the Lightning Lord is tied to Jing Yuan. When Lingsha uses her skill, she summons Fu Yan with the initial speed of 90 and the action count of 3. To quickly summarize what Fu Yan does, they launch a follow-up attack when they take action. They deal AoE fire damage to all enemies and 1 instance of single target damage that prioritizes targets with toughness greater than 0 and are fire weak. Fu Yan also removes 1 debuff from all allies and restores their HP to 12% of Lingsha's attack, plus an additional 360. A few things to note down before we move on. Lingsha's skill increases Fu Yan's action count by 3, and the maximum amount of actions they can also take is capped at 5. The only instances Fu Yan will leave the field is if Lingsha is knocked out or if Fu Yan runs out of actions. A mechanic worth mentioning from her talent, the priority target receiving the damage depends on whether they are weak to fire and not broken. However, if there is only 1 enemy on the field that is not weak to fire or is broken, then it will prioritize that target instead. Lingsha's ultimate is where things get really freaky. She inflicts the Befog State on all enemies and targets receive 25% increased break damage that lasts for 2 turns. She also deals fire damage equal to a very solid 150% of her attack to all enemies, and at the same time restores HP equal to 12% of her attack plus another 360 to all allies. On top of that, Fu Yan's action is advanced by 100%. To put it into perspective, you're gaining 3 sources of healing from Lingsha's kit. Her skill heals all allies by 14% of her attack plus 420. Her talent gives 12% of her attack plus 360 and a free cleanse to all allies. Her last source comes from her ultimate, giving 12% of her attack plus 360. If you really wanted to, you can include another healing source using Huo signature Lightcone, Night of Fright. Lastly, Lingsha's technique summons Fu Yan at the start of battle and inflicts the Befog State to all enemies on the field, meaning you deal 25% increased break damage as soon as the battle starts. Her other major trace, Ember's Echo, acts as an emergency heal in battle. While Fu Yan is on the field, any ally taking damage or consumes HP that reaches 60% or lower automatically triggers the follow-up attack talent. Surprisingly, this doesn't consume Fu Yan's action count. However, this effect can trigger again after 2 Lingsha turns. For example, if Firefly uses her skill outside of her ultimate, she consumes 40% of her HP, which activates Ember's Echo, so you get a free follow-up attack accompanied with some nice healing. Do keep in mind though that the emergency heal also has the added bonus of not changing the AV of Fu Yan in any way. Think of it like how Sealer's Resurgence works. You're getting more actions out of Fu Yan in total as if it was a 100% action advance. A gameplay tip to maximize your Lingsha's potential: do not use her ultimate when Fu Yan almost has her action. Lingsha's ultimate isn't like Ember's Echo where it won't change the AV. Lingsha's ultimate, for example, advances Fu Yan's action by 100%, so using it before Fu Yan takes action leads to less damage, less healing, less cleansing, and losing out on entire Fu Yan action. The same logic can be applied to a skill since Fu Yan gets a 20% action advance. Using it right before wastes their entire action. However, do remember to refresh Lingsha's skill every now and then to maintain uptime, especially if she's close to 0 actions. For minor traces, you receive a solid 37% break effect boost, an 18% HP boost, and a very nice 10% attack boost. boost. Lingsha's talent priority is going to be talent, ultimate, skill, basic attack. Her talent and ultimate are a must when leveling up your Lingsha. Her talent will actually be doing most of the healing on your team, so make sure that's leveled up. Her ultimate, on the other hand, offers a good amount of healing and inflicts the fog state. Lingsha's skill also offers healing, but compared to her talent and ultimate, you receive less healing, therefore less value. Her basic attack does nothing besides generating an additional 10 energy from her A2 trace. Lastly, for her rotation, I'm going to recommend leading with basic skill, since using 2 skills isn't going to grant another Fuyan action unless your Lingsha is really slow, which generally shouldn't be the case. Make sure to use Lingsha's skill after her ultimate, since you'll only have 1 Fuyan action and then you're back up to 4 with an advanced Fuyan action. Starting off with break builds, you can consider running 4-piece Iron Cavalry. Lingsha's personal damage is already pretty high in break comps since she'll be attacking with Fuyan, so she'll be dealing some very solid toughness damage. However, running this relic increases her damage potential even more. She's also going to need less speed because of Ruan Mei, and less healing too, since break teams actually don't need that much healing, but correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to make Iron Cavalry her only option if you're considering running Lingsha in your break teams. Onto a more general builds, you can consider running 2-piece Hackerspace plus a 2-piece break effect set. The 6% speed from Hackerspace will bring you much more closer to your next speed checkpoint, since you want to get access to Lingsha's healing as often as possible. Any 2-piece break effect set such as Iron Cavalry, Thief, and Watchmaker for the extra break effect helps push Lingsha to the 200% break effect threshold much faster, as well as improving her break damage by just a bit if the enemy unit is weak to fire. You can also pair Hackerspace with Wandering Clouds for the extra healing bonus, which is something I recommend if you have good pieces available to you, or if you're able to reach the 200% break effect threshold. You can also consider replacing Wandering Clouds with Musketeer, however, this is going to provide less healing unless you have godlike substats. Otherwise, you can equip Lingsha with that instead. 4-piece Thief is another general set I'd recommend for players. You can also run this set in Super Break, but Iron Cavalry is the better choice between the two. The 32% break effect you get from this set is very nice, and you get some energy back whenever Lingsha breaks an enemy unit. However, it won't be enough to replace an energy regeneration route. Something to keep in mind in case you do use this set on her, although it may be a bit harder to reach a desired speed checkpoint with this set, you can make up for it in break effect. In Super Break translation, you're going all gas no brakes on this set. Finally, the last lineup for our general builds is going to be the Eagle of Twilight. Now this set here is a bit interesting. Although the advance is always nice to have on a sustain or support unit, since the set provides more actions, you actually need to consider speed tuning differently because of it. In summary, this set can be a good pick for her, especially for 0-cycle rotations where you need just a bit of advance for one more action. Onto a crit build, and I'll be quickly summarizing them since we're primarily focusing on a break and general builds. 4-piece Genius of Brilliant Stars is going to be Lingsha's best choice, since she doesn't have any other compatible set. The Wind-Soaring Valorous also works well with Lingsha, since her ultimate plays a big part in dealing damage, so running this set increases that damage even more. 2-piece Grand Duke set coupled with a 2-piece attack set is viable too, although I only recommend this set if you have good substats on both sets. There are a bunch of combinations you can try out, but Crit Lingsha is an off-meta build, therefore I wouldn't recommend it unless you're for funning it, then by all means go crazy with it. Just a reminder that this build is heavily reliant on having godlike substats, which is very unrelatable amongst most players, so in case you do try it out, see what sets and combinations work for you. Onto planar sets, 2-piece Kalpagni is going to be a must on Lingsha. Any additional speed you get from this set is a huge benefit, and Kalpagni offers a 6% speed to the wearer, bringing you much closer to your desired speed checkpoint. Since you want to pair Lingsha against fire weak enemies and Firefly making that possible, your break effect will increase by 40% that lasts for one turn. Basically, with Firefly, you are guaranteed to have a 40% break effect boost, which improves Lingsha's damage and brings her much closer to the 200% break effect threshold, making this set imperative for Firefly comps. Kingdom of Banditry is also a solid choice in case the enemy doesn't have fire weakness, so this set will be a great option if you're running Lingsha with Boothill or any other character outside of Firefly comps. However, your Lingsha should always be faster than 145 to ensure you get the 36% extra break effect. In some instances, Kalpagni can outperform Kingdom of Banditry just from the 6% speed unless you barely reach the next speed threshold. Similar to relic sets, you can use any general planar sets that I'll be recommending shortly in your break comps, but I would recommend it since you don't get any decent buffs for break teams. For general builds, Broken Kill is a good choice just like most other support units in hypercarry comps. The extra effect res is also useful here to increase your chances of ignoring enemy debuffs. Fleet of Ageless is another good set in case you aren't running Lingsha and Hypercarry comps, so the set will be useful in teams such as DOT. The HP percent is also an added bonus on her, and she should be generally faster than 120, so the requirement wouldn't be an issue either. Sprightly Volwhack is another option that isn't too bad to consider since the energy regeneration rate is wasted on her, but the 40% advance at the start of battle can be really helpful and possibly allow certain zero cycle rotations. Lashaka follows the same logic as Sprightly Volwhack. The energy regeneration rate is simply wasted on her. However, the attack percent is a good bonus to have to increase your main DPS unit's damage. Penacony seems like an okay choice, but it doesn't offer that many buffs and seems situational. Crit Lingsha planers you want to run Duran. This set is generally the best choice for a crit Lingsha build, since you can trigger the amounts of follow-up attacks pretty frequently, and it can be even faster with another follow-up attack unit on the team. Amusement Park is the secondary option worth considering, since Lingsha has a summon in her kit. She'll be able to fully maximize the value of this planar set and get an additional 48% crit damage increase. This is actually one of the few sets that gives out this type of boost without any restrictions or build-up. There are actually many other options worth considering, such as Space Sealing Station, Inner Salsoto, Rutulan Arena. However, test those out on your behalf since we're focusing on her break and general builds. For Relic main stats, prioritize outgoing healing boost or attack percent. Since Lingsha gets a good amount of attack percent from other sources such as her trace and from the sphere, she'd be much better off with outgoing healing boost to ensure she heals your team to their fullest. The difference between outgoing healing boost and attack percent is 14%, so make sure to only use attack percent if you have god tier substats and you don't need any extra healing. For boots, you want speed since you want your support and sustain to have as much speed as possible. On top of that, speed boots also helps you reach your next speed threshold, and I can't emphasize that enough. Use speed boots even if your substats are complete utter garbage. For sphere, you obviously want attack percent since there are no other better options available to her. It improves your healing output even more, therefore making it the best option and only option for her. Rope can either be energy regeneration rate or break effect. Using an energy rope ensures that you generate enough energy to get access to a 3-turn ultimate, meaning that you can simply use basic skill or any other combination to get her ultimate. However, if you happen to run post-op conversation, you will actually get enough energy regeneration rate from the Lightcone to make sure that she can have a 3-turn ultimate. At that point, you'd be much better off running a break effect rope to maximize her value. For crit Lingsha, just build the usual main stats as every other DPS. Crit rate or crit damage chest, speed or attack percent boots, fire damage orb or attack percent for sphere, and attack percent or energy regeneration rate for her rope. The best options will usually depend on your team and substats, so again, figure out what's best for your account. Most of the speed checkpoints are already pretty common against sustain and support units. However, the one breakpoint that separates Lingsha from most sustain units is the 150 speed threshold. This is because 150 speed is the desired speed breakpoint to ensure you aren't wasting any action advance on Fuyan when going for basic skill rotation. If you happen to be faster than this, make sure to wait for your ult after Fuyan has consumed an action. Otherwise, you will just lose out on Fuyan's action. So make sure your Lingsha is as fast as possible and you're good to go. If you have 150 speed Lingsha paired with Ruan Mei, then you're actually going to get 160 from Ruan Mei's talent, meaning you actually get 4 actions in 2 cycles. For break effect stats, you can actually get away with 150 up to 175 break effect, since most of the time outside of break effect, you won't be able to achieve 200% break effect and maintain good substats at the same time. So in regards to those cases, I would recommend this amount. You can also reach this amount in break effect comps, since you'll be getting the additional buffs from units such as Harmony, Trailblazer, and Ruan Mei. For attack stats, you can settle for 2000 up to 2400 since you'll be using an attack orb. This is also a relatable amount of attack most players would reach with just a couple of extra attack substats on relics. Do keep in mind though that the more attack percent she has on her build, the more you're going to heal, or in super break terms, more attack percent, more healing. E1 is going to be the best stopping point for low spenders. Her E1 increases her break efficiency by 50%, and when an enemy unit's weakness is broken, their defense is reduced by 20%. To put it into perspective, if you have Iron Cavalry equipped on Lingsha with 250% break effect, you're going to ignore an additional 25% defense. So you're already dealing more damage up to a total of 45% defense ignore. Now, if you happen to also have E1 Ruan Mei, you're going to ignore another 20%, meaning you're going to ignore 65% of the enemy's defense, and it doesn't even stop there. With Firefly's E1, you're going to ignore another 15%. So altogether, you're going to ignore 80% of the enemy's defense. Her E2 is nothing too crazy and the cost is too steep for only 40% break effect. Allies on your team should already have 300% break effect and around 400% break effect on Firefly from the added buffs. If you really like Lingsha, then by all means pull to your heart's content. Her E4 is nothing special and just provides more healing. Although it seems like another source of emergency healing, I don't see her using it since she's going to get a lot of value from her other healing sources anyway. Her E6 is pretty wild, offering 20% all-type res pen by 20%. When Fuyan attacks, it additionally deals 4 instances of damage, with each instance dealing 5 damage equal to 50% of Lingsha's attack and 5 toughness reduction to 1 random enemy unit. It also prioritizes targets with toughness greater than 0 and fire weakness. The extra instances of damage from Fuyan provides even more toughness damage as well as increasing Lingsha's damage by a lot. With that being said, her E1 is going to be the best stopping point if you're considering pulling her Eidolons. Between E1 and S1 Lingsha in break comps, E1 is going to be the better investment. However, while E1 does contribute to a lot on break teams, E1 isn't going to contribute much outside of that, so its value may vary depending on whether the enemy is weak to fire. On top of that, the enemy also has to be broken long enough for the 20% defense reduction to do a lot. But if we take a look at S1 on the other hand, it'll provide an 18% vulnerability debuff on the enemy for 2 good turns, despite not getting the 100% out of its value. If you don't break the enemy or if the enemy is fast, you'll still be getting decent value out of it anyway, as well as an 80% vulnerability debuff on enemies, which is just an overall increase in damage. So to quickly summarize the comparison outside of super break comps, S1 is going to be a lot more consistent on its usage than E1, since you're totally relying on the enemy being weak to fire. For Lightcones, I'll be keeping this brief since there aren't a wide variety of them. Sen Alone Stays True is going to be Lingsha's top Lightcone. It offers a 60% break effect which benefits Lingsha a lot and applies the woe-free state on enemies whenever the wearer uses their ultimate. The enemy receives 10% more damage with 8% additional damage if the wearer has 150% or more break effect, which Lingsha should always have. This debuff is fantastic for any type of team, but it only lasts for 2 turns, so there could be issues outside of break comps or against really fast enemies. Other 5-star options include Night of Fright, but Lingsha needs a bit more energy regeneration or somehow get hit to guarantee her 3-turn ultimate. But nonetheless, this is still a decent option due to boosting attack, extra healing, and buffing. Echoes of the Coffin also works since the attack percent helps increase Lingsha's healing as well as allowing her to use a break rope instead of an energy regen rope. The speed is also great to have to help you reach your desired speed breakpoint. Post-op Conversation is a great free-to-play option. At S5, it enables a 3-turn ultimate which allows you to replace an energy regen rope with a break effect rope. However, if you don't have S5, then you have to get other energy sources such as getting hit or planar sets such as Von Whack or Lashaka. What is Real is another great choice, offering break effect and self-heal when the wearer uses their ultimate. Since Lingsha doesn't use any defensive stats, this Lightcone will provide extra survivability for her and give a good amount of break effect on top of that. Quid Pro Quo is a Lightcone almost every abundance unit can use. However, it doesn't help Lingsha that much, but it could be beneficial on other teams where the energy is needed. Shared Feeling is another viable option in a team where she's able to spam skill. This is a solid option since it gives energy to the whole team, which can enable Lingsha to have a 3-turn ultimate with a bit more energy from getting hit. Therefore, she's actually able to use a break effect rope with this Lightcone, which is way more common than energy regeneration ropes. Lastly, for team comps, Firefly, Ruan Mei, Harmony MC, and Lingsha is going to be her best team comp. Lingsha will be able to take advantage of Firefly and planting fire element on the enemy, which contributes to breaking the enemy faster. On top of that, if you remember, Lingsha gives a free follow-up attack and free healing from her major trace Ember's Echo, which only occurs whenever an ally unit reaches 60% or lower HP. Another team worth considering is Himiko, Ruan Mei, Harmony MC, and Lingsha. This team pretty much follows the same concept as Firefly without the weakness implant, so this team seems situational since the enemy team needs to be weak to fire to maximize its value. But nonetheless, Himiko mains are eating good with this one. Feixiao, Topaz, Robin, and Lingsha is another team worth trying out since Lingsha has a follow-up attack in her kit plus sustain. Although she's a downgrade to Aventuried in terms of DPS, she's still a unit worth including in case you do not have him. Boothill, Ruan Mei, Bronya, and Lingsha is another fantastic setup. Although her value may vary depending on their enemy, she's still going to be a useful unit for the AoE healing. Lastly, for your crit Lingsha team, you want to run Lingsha, Robin, Sparkle, and Xiaoshu. Robin gives an action advance from her ultimate plus a 45% crit damage increase. Sparkle offers 24% of Sparkle's crit damage plus 45% with a very nice action advance too. Sparkle provides a lot of skill points to the team which can be useful for units like Lingsha. Xiaoshu provides vulnerability which leads to even more damage. And that is going to be it for the guide. With how far Lingsha is to being released, are you going to pull for Lingsha? Is she worth it for your account? Do you think Lingsha's value will increase in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on your way out if you want to see more content like this. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in a bit.